Imagine a world where one of history's greatest maritime disasters never happened. What would have become of the Titanic, the giant of the seas, if it had completed its maiden voyage? Without an iceberg in its path, how would this tale of glory and tragedy have shaped the future? Today, we set sail into the waters of What If, exploring an alternate past where the Titanic never sank. Hold on tight, because this journey promises surprises and revelations you never saw coming. Maritime safety would have advanced more slowly. If the Titanic had never sunk, the evolution of maritime safety regulations would have taken a drastically different path. After the tragedy, sweeping measures like the mandatory increase of lifeboats and the creation of the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, SOLAS, were implemented at record speed. Without this catastrophic event, complacency could have prevailed for decades, leaving passengers aboard future ships vulnerable to avoidable dangers. Think about it. How many lives could have been lost if these safety protocols had been delayed? The Titanic's sinking forced a global reckoning, highlighting glaring flaws in ship design, emergency preparedness, and crew training. In a world where the Titanic completed its voyage unscathed, the maritime industry might have taken a much longer time to adopt vital safety practices. For example, the lack of lifeboats for all passengers was a standard many ships adhered to, prioritizing aesthetics and convenience over safety. The Titanic's sinking shattered this mindset, proving once and for all that unsinkable was an illusion. Without such a high-profile disaster, would shipbuilders and regulators have felt the same urgency to address these glaring oversights? Perhaps not. Additionally, technological advancements like iceberg monitoring systems, improved hull designs, and mandatory lifeboat drills became industry standards largely due to lessons learned from the Titanic. Without its tragic legacy, these innovations might have taken decades to develop, or might have emerged only after a different catastrophe. The Titanic's story is a testament to how human tragedy can drive meaningful change. Ironically, while the disaster claimed over 1,500 lives, it saved countless others in the decades that followed by serving as a grim wake-up call for an industry that had grown too confident in its technological achievements. So, what would the seas look like today if the Titanic had simply arrived in New York as planned? The cost of progress might have been paid later, and perhaps at an even greater price. The White Star Line would dominate the transatlantic travel market. If the Titanic had completed its maiden voyage, the White Star Line, the ship's parent company, would have solidified its dominance in the competitive world of transatlantic travel. The Titanic was the crown jewel of the company's fleet, a floating palace designed to combine unmatched luxury with groundbreaking engineering. Its success would have been a powerful statement to rivals like the Cunard Line, setting a new standard for ocean liners. Imagine the prestige the White Star Line would have gained by showcasing the Titanic as the ultimate symbol of modernity and opulence. With its reputation enhanced, the company might have attracted wealthier passengers and cemented long-term contracts for shipping and transportation. Its already ambitious plans for a fleet of Olympic-class liners could have expanded further, pushing competitors to play catch-up. Interestingly, the Titanic's triumph might have inspired bolder ventures in shipbuilding. Larger, faster, and more luxurious ships could have become the norm even earlier as the White Star Line leveraged its success to lead the charge. This could have accelerated the evolution of ocean travel, making transatlantic journeys more accessible to a broader range of travelers much sooner. However, it's worth considering how this dominance might have influenced the global maritime landscape. Would the Titanic's success have overshadowed the technological innovations of other companies? Perhaps the race for faster, more innovative designs would have taken a back seat to maintaining the Titanic's legacy. On the other hand, the Titanic's continued service might have inspired fierce competition, sparking a golden age of innovation for ocean liners. The Titanic was more than just a ship. It was a symbol of its time, representing humanity's unshakable confidence in progress. Had it fulfilled its promise, the White Star Line could have stood as the undisputed leader of its era. Cultural views on luxury and exclusivity would have shifted. If the Titanic had not sunk, it would have had an even greater influence on how society perceived luxury and exclusivity. The ship was already a symbol of opulence, designed to cater to the wealthiest passengers while showcasing the pinnacle of early 20th century design. A successful voyage would have cemented its status as a cultural icon, shaping trends in luxury travel and high-class living. Picture this: photos and stories from the Titanic's first-class passengers would have dominated newspapers and magazines. Lavish ballrooms, exquisite menus, and state-of-the-art amenities would have set a new gold standard for luxury, inspiring architects, designers, and even hoteliers to mimic its grandeur. Its legacy might have gone beyond ships, influencing luxury cars, trains, and even early aviation. The Titanic also showcased a stark divide between social classes, with its first-class accommodations vastly different from those of steerage passengers. While the tragedy highlighted these inequalities, a successful voyage might have romanticized them further. The wealthy elite might have embraced the Titanic's exclusivity as a status symbol, deepening the cultural divide. Interestingly, this influence might have extended to marketing strategies. The Titanic's image as a floating palace could have inspired a new wave of aspirational advertising, aimed at making people dream of living a lifestyle they could never afford. This approach, now commonplace, might have taken root even earlier, creating a stronger global focus on branding and consumerism. Moreover, the Titanic's success could have led to a greater emphasis on luxury travel experiences across all sectors. From more extravagant cruise liners to luxurious train services, the ripple effects might have elevated expectations for comfort and sophistication in ways we still see today. In a world where the Titanic reigned supreme, our understanding of luxury and exclusivity might have been shaped more by its achievements than its loss. The film industry would have a different cultural landmark. If the Titanic had never sunk, the film industry as we know it might look entirely different. James Cameron's Titanic, one of the most successful and beloved movies of all time, owes much of its emotional resonance to the tragedy itself. Without the sinking, would there have been such a gripping story to tell? And if so, would it have captured the same level of global attention? Consider this: a Titanic that completed its voyage would likely have inspired films and stories, but they would have focused on its grandeur, not its loss. The ship's legacy might have been a tale of triumph and human ingenuity, potentially leading to a very different kind of cinematic narrative, perhaps a historical drama celebrating technological achievement rather than a poignant love story set against a backdrop of disaster. The impact of James Cameron's Titanic on pop culture was monumental. The film didn't just tell a story, it redefined blockbuster cinema with groundbreaking visuals, a timeless soundtrack, and unforgettable characters. It also sparked a global fascination with the Titanic, leading to books, documentaries, and countless retellings of its fateful voyage. Without the emotional gravity of the sinking, could any film about the Titanic have had the same cultural and financial impact? Furthermore, the movie's success influenced other industries, from fashion to music. Celine Dion's "My Heart Will Go On" became an anthem, and the film's costumes inspired trends worldwide. A world without the sinking might mean a world without these cultural touchstones. Interestingly, Hollywood might have sought a different disaster or historical event to dramatize. The absence of Titanic as we know it could have shifted the focus to other major events, altering the trajectory of film history and the stories we hold dear today. The Titanic's role in World War I would have been pivotal. Had the Titanic never sunk, it's likely that the ship would have played a significant role during World War I. Many luxury liners of the time, including its sister ship, the RMS Olympic, were repurposed as troop transport ships or hospital ships during the conflict. The Titanic, with its size and capabilities, could have been a game-changer in these efforts. Picture the Titanic, stripped of its grandeur, painted in camouflage patterns, and loaded with soldiers or medical supplies. its massive capacity could have transported thousands of troops across the Atlantic, significantly impacting the logistics of war. Alternatively, its spacious interiors could have been transformed into a floating hospital, providing care to wounded soldiers on the front lines. The Titanic's involvement in the war might have cemented its legacy in a very different way. Instead of being remembered as a tragedy, it could have been hailed as a hero of the war effort, celebrated for its contributions to the Allied victory. Veterans and historians alike might have spoken of its role with reverence, elevating it to the status of a wartime legend. However, this alternate history raises intriguing questions. Would the Titanic have survived the perils of war? Many ships were lost to German U-boats during the conflict, and the Titanic, despite its size, would not have been invulnerable. Imagine the irony of a ship marketed as unsinkable falling victim, not to an iceberg, but to a torpedo. If the Titanic had endured the war, it might have undergone extensive repairs and refits, returning to civilian service in a transformed world. Its story would then have been one of resilience and adaptation, a testament to the durability of human ingenuity. The Titanic's hypothetical role in World War I offers a fascinating glimpse into what might have been, a tale of courage and service instead of loss. Future lives might have been lost instead of saved. Ironically, the Titanic's sinking, while a devastating tragedy, led to safety reforms that saved countless lives in the long run. If the Titanic had never sunk, those reforms might have been delayed, potentially leading to even greater loss of life in subsequent disasters. The Titanic's sinking served as a wake-up call, exposing the flaws in ship design, crew training, and maritime protocols. For instance, the ship's limited number of lifeboats, enough for only about half of those on board, was a standard practice at the time. After the disaster, international regulations mandated that all ships carry enough lifeboats for everyone on board. Without the Titanic as a cautionary tale, how many other lives might have been lost before such regulations were enforced? Consider the shipping industry of the early 20th century. It was a time of fierce competition, with companies racing to build faster, larger, and more luxurious vessels. In this climate, safety often took a back seat to prestige. The Titanic's tragedy forced a shift in priorities, proving that no ship is immune to disaster. Without that lesson, subsequent ships might have been built with the same overconfidence, leading to more catastrophic events. Moreover, the Titanic's sinking prompted advancements in technology, such as better iceberg detection methods and the establishment of the International Ice Patrol. These innovations have prevented countless accidents in the decades since. In a world where the Titanic completed its journey without incident, would these measures have been prioritized? Or would they have emerged only after another high-profile disaster? The loss of the Titanic was undeniably tragic, but it catalyzed progress that ultimately saved lives. Without it, the maritime industry might have learned its lessons the hard way, at an even greater cost. Advances in naval engineering would have been delayed. The Titanic's sinking was more than a tragedy. It was a turning point for naval engineering. The ship's loss exposed significant design flaws that, once understood, revolutionized shipbuilding. If the Titanic had never sunk, the innovations it inspired might have been delayed, leaving future vessels vulnerable to preventable disasters. For example, the Titanic's bulkheads, partitions meant to contain water in the event of flooding, were not sealed at the top, allowing water to spill from one compartment to the next. This design flaw proved catastrophic during the sinking. Following the disaster, naval architects began creating truly watertight compartments, enhancing ships' abilities to withstand hull breaches. Without the Titanic to illustrate the urgency of such changes, would these improvements have come too late for other vessels? Additionally, the Titanic's sinking brought attention to the materials and construction techniques used in shipbuilding. Investigations revealed that the ship's steel became brittle in cold water, contributing to its rapid demise. This discovery led to the development of tougher, more resilient materials, improving the safety of ships built afterward. In a world where the Titanic completed its voyage unscathed, such vulnerabilities might have remained unnoticed until another ship met a similar fate. Another key advancement was the introduction of double hulls, which provide an extra layer of protection against breaches. While double hulls were not new, their adoption became more widespread after the Titanic's sinking. Without this push, many ships might have been constructed with single hulls, increasing the risk of sinking from collisions or grounding. The Titanic's legacy extends far beyond its tragic story. Its loss spurred innovation, transforming maritime engineering into a field driven by safety and resilience. In a timeline where the Titanic's journey ended without incident, these crucial advancements might have been delayed, leaving future ships and their passengers at greater risk. The Titanic's story is one of ambition, innovation, and tragedy, a cautionary tale that reshaped the world in unexpected ways. In exploring this alternate history, we've imagined a timeline where the Titanic completed its voyage, transforming industries, cultural norms, and even global events. From delayed safety reforms to missed technological advancements, the ripple effects of a successful Titanic voyage would have reached far beyond its maiden journey. Do you agree with these conclusions? Or do you think there are other angles we haven't explored? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more thought-provoking content, and check out the video currently appearing on your screen for another dive into the what-if universe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.